Okay, hey there, Miss Blackman again. So last time we talked, we covered. Oh wait, hold on. We covered the New Deal relief, recovery, and reform. So, oh sorry, Wayfair's trying to get me to buy something. All right. All right, so we covered FDR's New Deal under relief, recovery, and reform. And this time we're going to talk. What? Why are so many things? Okay, this time we're going to talk about Standard 18C, analyze political challenges to Roosevelt's leadership and New Deal programs. Okay, so we talked about how Franklin Delano Roosevelt came down as like this legend. Everybody loved him because he was a man of action. He declared a war on the Great Depression, and through the New Deal programs he instituted, and so he helped out a lot of people. But everyone has critics, right? And Franklin Delano Roosevelt was no exception. And so during his 12-year presidency, FDR faced many challenges to his leadership, and he had many critics. Some conservatives thought that he made government too large and too powerful, and that some aspects of the New Deal did not respect the rights of individuals and their property. But some liberals thought that FDR had not gone far enough to socialize the economy and to eliminate inequality in the U.S. Huey P. Long was perhaps FDR's biggest critic, and he was from Louisiana. He was planning to challenge FDR for presidency in 1936 until he was shot and killed by an assassin the year before the election was to happen. Long was one of those critics who believed the New Deal had not gone far enough in its efforts to help society. Instead of the New Deal, Long proposed what he called a Share Our Wealth program, which would guarantee a household income for each family in the U.S., which would be paid for by high taxes on the wealthiest American. In effect, he was planning to take from the rich and give to the poor. So you can kind of think of him as the Robin Hood of his day. All right, the Supreme Court versus the New Deal. So the Supreme Court in 1936 declared that two pieces of the first New Deal were unconstitutional. The National Industrial Recovery Act, which attempted to guarantee fair wages and work hours for workers, and the Agricultural Adjustment Act, the AAA, which granted farmers subsidies to cut their production in an effort to stabilize crop prices. So they perceived that these programs were a federal overreach into the operations of private businesses. And so they thought that the federal government had gone too far when it came to those two. So FDR had a lot of battles with the Supreme Court. He grew increasingly frustrated with the Supreme Court. It was composed of 9 men, all 60 years or older, and very conservative. So he proposed the reorganization of the federal judiciary system. His plan was designed to improve the efficiency of the entire system by adding judges to all levels of the federal courts, and to adopt procedures to expedite the appeals process. So for every justice who refused to retire after 70, Roosevelt could appoint enough justices to pass his New Deal program. So he was going to appoint up to 6 new justices in all. So instead of 9 justices serving on the Supreme Court, it would be 15 justices. Now, FDR was criticized for wanting to pack the court. Of course, he really wanted to add these 6 additional justices so that way his new legislation would be passed. He said that the justices that were on there were overworked, they needed help, yada, yada. Of course, yeah, it's like cheating in a board game, right? So his opponents believed that he was attacking the independence of the judiciary system, overreaching as president, the executive branch, and thereby he was challenging the Constitution, which calls for the separation of those powers for a reason, right? To limit the power of the executive branch. So that's why we have the Supreme Court to begin with. So many of Roosevelt's longtime supporters deserted him on this controversial proposal, and the opposition that Roosevelt received to this proposal began to sour the nation on the New Deal. So all of a sudden, people were unhappy with those decisions. So this is how, let me escape. All right, so that is the New Deal and the critics of the New Deal, and we will look at next Eleanor Roosevelt. Thank you for watching.